What's up guys, it's Scoopman5000. Today we're back for another action figure review, and today we're doing a quick look at the brand new McFarlane Gold Label DC Multiverse Red Death. And obviously this is the golden variant, and unlike the golden Hellbat and some of the golden Arkham figures, this one actually makes a lot of sense, and it's a very cool repaint, and I think it's one that we needed. So of course it's another Batman yet again in the gold label, but this is very different. This is the Flash Red Death version. And I like that even on the bottom here, it says The Flash Earth -52 and not Batman, because this is from the point in Dark Knight's Metal where basically the Red Death is a combo of evil Bruce Wayne and Barry Allen. And at this point in the story, we're towards the end of Dark Knight's Metal, and the Barry Allen side takes over, and the Red Death kind of turns on them and becomes part of the Justice League. He helps them defeat the Metal crew. So really, this is much more of a Barry Allen Flash figure than it is a Batman. Nonetheless, for the box here, it's what we're used to for the DC Multiverse, but we do have the additional gold label branding on the top here. We saw that as well with the Todd McFarlane Batman. On one side you got the Flash Earth -52, the Dark Knight's Metal logos. On the other you get the extension of the window, and then on the back you're getting the Red Death trading card artwork, as well as the other characters in the Multiverse line. And here is the barcode. I don't know about availability. I ordered this guy on Walmart.com as soon as he came in stock, but I think they're starting to show up in stores. But that does just about cover the packaging, so let's open them up and let's take a look. And here is the Red Death out of the packaging, and pretty rare on this channel. We have no accessories to go over on this figure. He only comes included with the black figure stand as well as the trading card. This one's interesting. They actually did change it from the original Red Death. It's the same artwork but photoshopped to be golden. But then once you go to the back, it actually has the Barry Allen Flash bio card, and then also the description kind of reads what happens at the end of Metal, like I just described. Even though the variant was different here, it's a different character pretty much, so I'm glad they went through that effort. And what we're left with is a repaint of the Red Death figure, and it has the same, I guess, strengths and weaknesses that the original one did. If anything, some of those weaknesses are highlighted more on this one because of the paint schemes. I'll go ahead and I'll get this out of the way, and we'll bring in the original figure. We're going to go into him more in comparisons later. But just off the bat, I want you to get the difference with these two. And the main thing is that this one has a lot more color differentiation. Obviously, the chest logo your eyes are drawn to. And there is also much more contrast between the two different reds here compared to the two different golds that are used here. So I'm going to take him back out and we'll get back to him later. But I think when you look at this figure, that's where it kind of not falls apart, but that's where the weaknesses are. I think the main issue comes down to the gold paint that was used, and obviously this is a $20 action figure. But if you look in the comic, it looks a lot more metallic, and it looks a lot darker as well. And I think something like filling in the gaps here between these kind of ridges on his armor and on the sides of the legs, and even in the gauntlets, if you look, there's a lot of black shading, heavy black shading on this costume. And I think there is some black shading missing on this figure. I think this whole undersuit really should be in black, and these armored pieces as well. You need some black paint in there to bring out this detail because it looks very flat. And I think that the gold paint that's used on the armor pieces, on the bat symbol, those all look really good, and that looks like a good gold color. But as for this base plastic, it does come across as cheap looking, and it's not really McFarlane's fault, but maybe it's just a figure that's kind of hard to translate when you have him basically covered in gold. But I definitely think that shading is the biggest thing missing here. Otherwise, you have a great sculpt on this figure, and I think when I reviewed him along with the Flash, really my only complaint was the proportions. And it's something that McFarlane struggles with occasionally, but they're usually pretty good. I'd say this is one of their worst offenders, where he just has a really thin torso, and this is Bruce Wayne's body, and you have to remember that. So he should be a lot wider. He should be definitely in the chest area, and I don't know if it's to do with how they did the shoulders or I don't know what, but this whole middle piece, the chest, and as well as the crotch piece are definitely way too thin, and it kind of makes the whole thing look off. He looks like he has really long limbs and a really small torso. I also think that for the head sculpt, maybe they could have made a new one for this figure with a different expression, because these white eyes are very expressive in the book, and once he kind of turns into Barry Allen, his demeanor changes up. Other than that, I feel like I'm complaining. There's really no paint on the back, and we've seen that with like the Mandarin spawn. That kind of makes it look a bit plain. But I do think this is one that we needed if we're going so deep into Dark Knight's Metal. We have the whole crew. We have Batman. We have the Flash. If anything, more Justice League characters, and that would also satiate just getting a Justice League comic book version. But like I said, if we're going so deep into Metal, this was definitely one we needed to get. And it makes sense because of their business model. We have so many repaints and recolors. Get one that makes sense, that's pulled directly from the source material. But really, that's about it. I said it would be a quick look. Really quick, we're going to go over his articulation. If you watched my Flash and Red Death review, it's going to be similar, but it has been a couple months. It's been a while. The head here, I think, is one of the worst parts because he really doesn't go up at all. And he's a running character. You want him in these poses where he's looking up, and that's very difficult to pull off. When I actually did the figure photography, I ended up kind of pulling the head out of the ball joint and just having it sit there. That's really the best way to get good poses out of him. Otherwise, it's just going to be doing a lot of this on your shelf. I mean, same thing goes for the torso. It goes back pretty decent, which I guess is good for the running, but forward, you're really not moving much at all. And it's because of the sculpt. The cut does not go until halfway down into the abs. Usually the cut should be around here. And it doesn't make sense to me too, because of the way the figure's designed. And it also, I think, would fix, maybe you can make this upper torso a lot wider and this part smaller. It'd fix a lot of the issues, actually. It's this cut that's really throwing the figure off. He's also got butterflies, and these are kind of normal now, where they're butterflies that don't really go in and out as much, but they just give you that extra little movement this way. And that does help, and it does make them more dynamic, but maybe this figure could use a little bit more. Otherwise, you have the bicep swivel, you have the double jointed elbow, you have the McFarlane wrist joints. The legs are going to split out, they're going to kick back that much, kick forward that much. You do have double jointed knee. You're getting the McFarlane ankle joint as well as the toe hinge. And that does just about cover the Flash, the Red Death gold label. So now let's go ahead, let's do my favorite part, and let's do some comparison. And here is my two most recent DC Multiverse figures. We got the Green Lantern John Stewart and the Joker Nightwing, both of which are my two previous videos. You can check out those reviews. For some of his former teammates, here we have him with the Dawnbreaker Batman, as well as the Murder Machine, who's definitely one of my favorites. Here he is with both of our metal Batman figures, the original and the death metal version. And then finally, for our Flash trio from McFarlane, we have the single-carded Rebirth Flash, as well as the original Red Death. And that does just about cover the gold label Red Death figure, and he's not perfect, he still has the issues from the original, but like I said, I think he was necessary, and maybe they could have improved it, they could have improved the issues that the proportions have, the sculpt has, but then I think we need another Red Death. But otherwise, for the fans that want it, it's here, and that includes me, obviously, but like a lot of these McFarlane releases recently, they're not going to be for everybody. This is from a very specific event, one time in comics, it's only in one comic, and maybe metal is not your style, and you're still waiting for those traditional DC characters, and I'm glad that we got John Stewart recently. He can kind of flesh this line out, but now it seems like we're going to be getting that Dark Father wave, and we're getting Batman Beyond. We're getting a lot of obscure things. I'm a big fan of that, but for those of you who want traditional DC stuff, maybe this isn't for you. But at the end of the day, I'm still a fan, I'm supporting it, and even this figure with its issues is entirely worth that $20 price point. So he's going to look great standing next to all the other Dark Knight's metal figures, and at the end of the day, that's really what matters, and that's kind of the mission statement of McFarlane Toys. As always, I'm going to be taking some figure photography of this guy, and you can check out my library on Instagram, scoopman_5000, but that does just about do it for this video, so I'll see you guys in the next action figure review.